These groups depend mainly on visionary foundations to keep them alive. And so there's the major foundation is called Funders Collaborative on Youth Organizing. And they have sponsored a tremendous amount of research on these groups and training of intermediary organizations to help groups get organized and trained and sustained. Now, these foundations are very outspoken in saying that we need to go beyond the service learning model that's being promoted in high school and really teach our young people the skills they need to know how to engage in social justice efforts in our society. They want us to think more about the social political development of young people, which I think is the missing dimension of faith development. I think Scripture makes it clear that we are to be socio-politically involved, but we often overlook that as an aspect of faith and spiritual development. Well, how do these groups work? I see here I'm going to have to skip some of my slides. The two cornerstones of community organizing are Sally and Sue going out to talk to each other for 30 to 40 minutes. Sally is already a member, has been trained. She invites Sue and guides the conversation to find out what are the pains and pressures in her friend's life. And what are those stories behind those? Where's that pain and pressure coming from? And is there anything that can be done about it? So young people in these groups just seek out people outside of their own high school organizing group and just talk to as many of their peers as they can to find out what's going on. They also have house meetings where they gather together in parks or church basements or living rooms, and in a group of maybe 12 to 15, they talk about the same thing. What are the pains and pressures we're undergoing as a group, and where's that coming from? And can anything be done about it? And so after this listening, the young people come together and find what are the generative themes that are going on, and then they begin to fashion an agenda of things that they want to work on first, then next, and next. And then they engage more properly in what's called participatory action research, where they go out and research what are all the forces behind this problem, and then what are the resources behind it. Who are the stakeholders, and who are the allies that could help us solve this problem together? And they come up with a vision of what can be done, and the different action teams bring that back to the whole group and make recommendations, and then they decide on what their next campaign will be. This paves the way for what's called a public action. That's a large public gathering where the young people ask an elected public leader, let's say it's a school superintendent, a mayor, the CEO of the hospital, someone who has the power of decision making and the power over purse strings. They present them with a specific request. And a lot is built up to this public action. They never just blindside someone. They've always briefed the public leader ahead of time what they want to talk about, what the specific request is. And they come in with a proposed solution. They have researched things so well, they know this solution is workable and fundable. It's not just saying, would you solve that for us? No, we organize and campaign around a proposed solution, not around a proposed problem, but around the solution. So a lot of things. And as young people go about doing all these things, they're building skills. And what these groups have found is kids who might be making a D or flunking out of English or history, because they're researching and writing about something, that's pertinent to their daily life experience, they come alive. I've seen some of these papers. They're written as well as any college or seminary paper. Briefing papers that high school kids have put together on the basis of their research. To my mind, this would be one way to tie together church, school, and community life, all working together on the issues that most deeply affect working class young people. Well, you remember during Obama's campaign, Steve Coetti, of course, he was a community organizer trained in this tradition in Chicago. The sought-for outcome of these public actions is not just, yes, we're going to have money for an after-school program or for bus passes or for more college prep courses in underfunded schools, but another needed outcome is that the young people have a sense of their own self-dignity and self-efficacy and their own sacred worth. Like, I am someone who deserves to be listened to and respected. And I can do background research. And if I'm responsible and do responsible research and engage in public deliberation and dialogue, I have some ideas that deserve to be heard. Well, this is some research that's been conducted in what kinds of outcomes these groups indeed are producing. Deepening interpersonal capacity, deepening the capacity of youth to participate in the community, and then developing the social political capacity of young people. I thought I just might mention a couple of groups that have done impressive things. I went to visit Hope Street Youth Development in Wichita. They have a very kind of in a dilapidated neighborhood and dilapidated part of town, but they do very sophisticated things together. This is primarily an African-American neighborhood. And it started off mainly as an after-school program for so-called latchkey kids, for boys. And then they gradually grew and expanded into a full-blown youth community organizing group. They have meetings every Wednesday. Begins with a meal prepared by two of the young people as part of their life skills training. They give attention to African American historical and cultural studies. And they also have training in how to go about, how to learn these different skills that I described are needed for organizing. These groups always start out with something very small to make sure that they can win it, build up their self-confidence, and then they go on to something even more sophisticated. So their first action was just to get some street lights for their high-crime neighborhoods. And since then, they've gone on to tackle issues related to drugs and crime, unfair housing, education, and so on. Oh, by the way, I didn't put it in here, but they were able to get huge sums of money from the Workforce Reinvestment Act to create summer jobs for young people in Wichita. That was one of their major victories. So they've done work not in their own neighborhoods, but also at the state and national level as well. Youth Working for Positive Change in Des Moines, Iowa. Here are some of the things they've been able to do. They persuaded the city to lower fares for students riding city buses. They tore down a dilapidated greenhouse that was a safe haven for drug dealers. Tore down an old arcade where gang violence was going on and somebody was killed. Held the city accountable to clean up and board up abandoned houses in their neighborhoods. Secured a new building for after-school studies. Formed an education task force to work on issues such as finding a way for low-income, working-class youth to attend college.